Okay, so now that we've talked a little about what are permissible sources so that we only use good information to develop our writing, let's take a look at how we get to that. Now, I've already cautioned you to stay away from the online search engines and certainly don't use anything that causes you to pay for an article. We have a fabulous library, we have great resources, and there's not much that you can't do through that library. So if you're having problems, you need to come see me or see our reference librarians. So let's just start by finding something simple. I'm going to demonstrate how to use our library search engines, as you may not have practiced that much. You may have been in the practice of using Google. Alright, so in the upper right hand corner of LSUS's home page is a drop-down menu called Quick Links. From this menu, you can select the fourth item down, which is the Noel Memorial Library. This is our source for scholarly information. Click on that item and it takes me straight to the Noel Memorial Library. The library has a vast array of information, so we're going to use some tools that will help us to narrow that down. First, as we've discussed in class, you're going to use primarily articles from peer-reviewed journals. So that's what we'll start working on today. That's where most of you encounter kind of challenges sometimes. So we're not going to look at books or collections. We're going to look here at Find Articles and Databases. So I put my cursor over Find Articles and Databases in the left-hand menu and click, and it takes me to all the databases that our library subscribes to. You really ought to make use of these. This is part of what your tuition pays for, and it's a fabulous resource, a way to reach out and get a tremendous amount of information. So we have all of these online indexes that you can use. But this is a massive amount of information and probably is broader than you need to search in. Our reference librarians have done a good thing for us. Back in that same left-hand menu, we can pull down and you can see Library Resources for Education and Human Development. This is where our librarians have brought the most probable search sites into one menu for us. So if I click on that, I move from having all of those databases to just the databases that probably are going to support my needs. All right. I'm going to start just by looking in psych articles, psych info. You can start from a variety of places. And since I'm doing this from off campus, I have to log in and validate. If you do it on campus, you won't go through this step. Internet's a little slow this morning. Alright, so now I'm in the database. I can see that Psych Articles is the database I selected, and I have this place where I can make my search entry. There are options down here to establish more detailed searches, as well as the opportunity to select advanced search and be even more selective. But I'm just going to step in and do a basic search right up front. We talked the other day about the importance of metacognition in student learning, so I'm going to use that as our search criterion for the day. So I just enter metacognition and search. That search in Psych Articles brings back 456 potential responses for articles on metacognition. And we can see that we have on the independence of visual awareness and metacognition, metamemory, and mind reading in high-functioning adults with autism spectrum disorder, a taxonomy of metacognitive cues. There's still a lot of information here, 456 different articles. So I may want to narrow that search. So I go back up to my search box and I leave metacognition there. I use the Boolean phrase and, which simply means look for metacognition and whatever word I put after that, both in the search. And I'm going to put student success. Now you'll notice that student success is 2 words. That's an interesting issue. The search engine will assume that there is an and between student and success. So I could wind up with articles on metacognition and student, metacognition and success. So if I want to clean this up and have just student success, I put it in quotations. I make it a phrase. And now I will get metacognition and student success as my response. There is one article in this particular database. Now there are many databases that meet that search criteria. And so I could choose additional databases, or I could modify my search criterion because I picked that. I may not have picked good words. This returns one article, Detection of Differential Item Functioning in the Cornell Critical Thinking Test between Turkish and US students. I don't think I'm very interested in that. The Cornell Critical Thinking Test is just a way of predicting who's a good thinker. I'm not sure it's all that valid, and I really don't care about that in terms of between Turkish and US students, because that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to write a paper about metacognition and student success. So with that failure, I adapt. I go, okay, I failed. What do I do now to make it right? I think I'm going to go up to choose databases, and I'm going to add a database or two. I'm going to give myself more places to find what I'm looking for because I'm fairly confident in my search phrase. So when I click that, I get all the databases in that collection again. And this time I'm going to add Psychology and Behavioral Sciences and PsycInfo. Now I'm going to look in 3 databases. I click OK. I now have multiple databases selected. I still have my same search phrase. I'm going to search again. Now there are 13 articles or sources, so perhaps I'll find what I want here. Correlation of test anxiety, test wiseness, student motivation, and metacognition on Praxis scores. No, that's not where I want to go. Connectedness of self-regulation as constructs of student success in an inner-city African-American school. That sounds good. That's about student success. It has this piece of my search phrase in it. And it has self-regulation, which is a key component of metacognition. So that may be a very good article. I'm going to keep my eye on it. The next resource it comes back with is a book. I will talk more about books in a separate short video. Some books are fabulous. Some books we need to avoid. It's more of a more complex topic than I want to take into place here. So let's just limit this little video to looking at academic journals. The next one's another article, The Impact of Teachers' Metacognitive Knowledge and Pedagogical Understanding on Metacognition. Could be useful. That's more about what I know about metacognition in terms of how you'll succeed. And then here's another kind of source that you might find. This is a dissertation or thesis. A dissertation or thesis, I'll address that separately as well, but for now do not use dissertation or thesis materials as sources that you would cite in your papers. These aren't really peer-reviewed. While they have a committee of faculty that look at them, there is no cross-university, cross-discipline kind of scrutiny, and so I would not consider them to be authoritative. When a student completes a thesis or completes a dissertation, they typically dissect portions of that and submit those portions to peer-reviewed journals for publication. And if they're accepted and published there, then it becomes a suitable source. But a dissertation or thesis is not a suitable primary source for citation in your papers. All right, so let's just go back up to this one article that looked like it was good. One of the things that we can see is that it has full text available, which is great. Sometimes you will see that full text is directly linked to it. Sometimes you'll see full text finder, which means we can probably get to this, but it isn't loaded directly quite as accessibly. And sometimes you will have to use interlibrary loan in order to obtain it. And I'll cover all of those issues eventually for you. All right, so this is available immediately. Let's click on PDF full text. Takes a minute. It has to go out and verify that we have a subscription to the data because it's not actually held in our library. It's on another database server. Now it'll download this article for me. And there's the article. Lemberger and Clemens, 2011. and it tells me what they learned. Now, what kind of article is this? They evaluated small group counseling interventions, student success skills in an inner city school. So I'm looking at this, I'm looking at what are the components of it. They're describing what they're studying, what it looks like, what the SSS program looks like, which is what they're trying to determine if it works. Does it have support? That is the literature review. Everything up to where it says method here at the lower part of the page is the literature review. It's what do we know about this? What question are we asking? Why is it a valid question to ask? And then we get to a method. A method then suggests that this is an empirical paper. It doesn't necessarily suggest that it's an experiment yet, but it does tell me it's an empirical paper. It could be correlational, it could be experimental, but it's an interesting paper. So we see participants, we see measurement, we see results, all the parts of an empirical paper here. So this is a great source. I want to keep this. So once I get this document, I'm using Chrome, but your browser will have some way to capture that document. Mine, I just click on the save, it comes down and says where do you want to put it. Now when it gets it off the database like this, it says content server. You probably want to give it a name. So metacognition 1, and I want to put it on my desktop for now, if I could get to my desktop. There we go, and I save it. All right, so you can see that just in a few moments I was able to enter the library, go to the electronic database, do a search for articles that I thought might be interesting, and obtain one of those articles. Now let's go back and look over here at the databases again. Now, let me come back a couple of backstrokes here. What about the one that said that it was perhaps available, but I would have to go through the full text finder right here. Relationship between what I know about it and your metacognition. I click full text finder. Very slow connection today. And it comes back and it says full text of this article may be available in other databases or in the library. If our library has it in print, they may not be paying for it electronically. You may actually physically have to go to the library, find the journal, and copy it. More and more often now we're subscribing to the online versions because they are less expensive and they are more maintainable. All right, so the first option here is find this article full text from Springer Verlag. Springer Verlag is the publisher. It is possible that we have a contract. In fact, it tells me we do. From January 1st, 2006 until present, we have a contract to be able to get these articles from them. So I can click on that and it'll take me to that website and I'll get the article. I also have the ability to go full text to the publisher's site. That tells me that we have that. I could search the library to see if we have it physically in print in the library, and I could go over and copy it. And if all of these indicated that we didn't have it, then I would use interlibrary loan. That's what ILL stands for. And they would get a copy of it for me, usually within a day or two. So we have found a way to get to this article using Springer Verlag. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to open another window and take me to the publisher's website. And there's my article in Metacognition and Learning. And I want the article. Here's my link. So I just click my link. Downloads my article. I click Save My Article again. This time, because it came from another server, it's got a really squirrely name. So I'm just going to go Metacognition 2. Put that on my desktop. I'm good to go.